Well, hello there. This is just a friendly disclaimer to remind you that everything said in this podcast is that of the person and not of any business, brands, or workplaces they represent. Not that anyone ever listens to what Eddie says anyway, I certainly don't. Usually I'd introduce the banter section at this point, but we're doing something slightly different this week, so let's listen to this beautiful, inspirational intro music. Welcome to the Ed Talks About podcast, a weekly podcast that talks about cosplay, Comic Cons, and everything else. I am not your host, Eddie. I'm CJ, and for some reason, Eddie has entrusted the podcast to me this week, and God, is he going to regret it. So, what are we talking about this week? Well, not so long ago, myself and Eddie did a podcast. It's already going great so far. But we did a podcast on content creation, and I wanted to develop that further by adding about collaboration and working with other people and brands. So, to help me with this discussion, I've invited two people who know a lot more about the subject than me. And my first guest is my sworn enemy and nemesis, a Miss Tabitha Lyons, aka Artifakes, a cosplayer and social media influencer, and annoys people online. Hey, Tabby.
Hello. What
How you
a
doing?
lovely intro right there.
From
Straight
me,
off the bat.
yeah, from me, that's me being lovely. And
Yeah.
joining me and Tabby as well is Emma Lilico, a game streamer, content creator, and also helps with socials and works with creators for a Comic Con who I will not name. Hey, Emma, thank you for joining us.
Hello. That was a much nicer intro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. I know he still loves me.
I mean, because it's someone else's podcast, I'm trying to be nice. If this is my own stuff, I'd be horrible. Like, I'm not here to be nice. It feels horrible being nice. Just to try and do a nice one for Tabby.
Yeah.
Oh, to be honest, I don't know if I can. Tabitha is a very talented cosplayer who's traveled the world, is in cosplay
Ooh.
and has done prop building.
Okay,
and
you can stop now.
Yeah,
No, I'm
it
no,
feels
you can
horrible, doesn't
stop.
it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I
Feels
don't like
absolutely horrible. She's so annoying. She's loud. She doesn't even do her own cosplays. She buys them secretly from buyacosplay.com. Is that a real website?
I was just going to ask that. I've not heard of that, but it feels like it should be.
It should be. Let's start up at
Our own
website called
website shop.
buyacosplay.com, and it's just me making it with like really bad sewn and stuff.
The model, and you can, I've seen you in your 11 cosplay and your, I don't know.
It was 10. It was 10. 11's Matt Smith. Wow. You don't even know what cosplays I've done. Some friend you are. Wow. I've done 10. I've done 14. I've done Green Arrow. I've done Jim Carrey's The Mask and some other one that people keep talking about that I don't like mentioning.
My favorite one.
Yeah. What do you have me down in your phone, Tabby? It's not PJ.
No, it's Captain Ook.
Ook. The Geordie version, Captain Ook.
Yeah.
Now, before we get started, and I haven't told Emma this, and I haven't told Eddie this, Emma, there is a reason why I actually wanted you on this podcast as well. And it's not because of your kind of knowledge and what you do. It's because you've actually worked with Eddie before, and you may not have realized it. So
have I?
I'm going to send you a
I probably
TikTok
don't realize
link.
it by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So when I saw this,
yeah,
I'm like, I need to make something happen with this some point soon. And this is the perfect opportunity. So I'm going to send you a message on WhatsApp now to a TikTok link. And it turns out that you and Eddie have actually done something before. So just so Tabby isn't feeling left out, so she can see exactly what I'm talking about, I'm going to send you this link.
This is amazing.
Now, Eddie
it's sort of like when you and Eddie
wind each other up and get revenge.
Hang on a second. That's me.
Yeah. So,
it's my face.
It is your face.
Hang on, I haven't pressed play yet.
Push play. Push play.
Okay. Do you mind hearing it through my phone, or should I turn the sound off?
Do you want me to? I can probably add it in audio, but I'll play it through my phone right now. Oh.
Okay, you play it through your phone, and I'll just.
NCMA 2024.
Right. So
here are our latest guest announcements for NCMA 2024. That's right, your boy Eddie will be at MCM London with his camera all 3 days on the Friday.
So that's enough of that. So basically, Emma recorded
used
a
my
video.
face.
Yeah, Emma recorded the video for a certain Comic-Con, and Eddie decided to edit it to make it look like she was announcing Eddie was attending at this Comic-Con.
Do you know what? I
I've-
respect it.
And I've been waiting so long to use this video at some point. Never
Perfect
mentioned it to
timing.
you. Never told him. Now, when did he post this? He
I did
posted
not.
this-
Yeah, I had no idea that was a thing.
Yes, that was a thing that he did. So I just wanted to use that. I've been waiting so long. So there you go. Eddie used you in one of his TikTok videos where you announced him as a guest for a con.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that is a bit of a shock, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Kind of excited by it. I feel famous myself.
Mm.
I feel
And
like he
Go
has
on.
to announce me as a guest now.
Yeah. And now you're the guest on the podcast. Now, the other thing that Eddie does is he always asks if the Comic Con you work for ever listens to this podcast. Every time he talks about this Comic Con, he says, I wonder if they're listening. Can you confirm that the con ever actually listens to his podcast?
I would love to say yes, but unfortunately,
There we
No.
go. So, Eddie, you
But-
no longer ever have to say, are they listening? They never listen to you. So you can
Well,
say whatever
technically they
you
are
want.
now because they're here.
yeah. But I do
Yes.
like his tweets or posts
Aw.
on Twitter, I suppose. So I
Alright.
do see some of his content, just not
Okay.
the podcast.
Good save. Good save. There we go. But sorry,
I'm just being truthful.
I just had to do that because I've been waiting so long to get revenge. Because this is the game me and Eddie play. We do keep getting one over on each other, and he got me over so well at MCM. He recorded me recording content for this con in a video on a live, and he did it for about 10 minutes, and I didn't realize he was recording me. Yeah.
Good
That
job
is a
you
good
didn't
one.
say anything naughty.
Yeah.
Now, one thing Eddie does like to do on his podcast is he likes to ask a question to get to know his guests. And I particularly don't really care about getting to know you guys, but I'm going to ask a question anyway. Now, he usually asks them what's they like on the toast, what do they like coffee-wise, but I thought I'd ask a new one. And I'm going to ask you guys, what is the most recent meme or reel or TikTok that has made you laugh or got your attention?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know, right? It's like I do this for my hobby.
I've got mine ready, but Tabby, are you ready?
No, I'm just.
Okay.
I think I doom scroll so much that they just all blend into one. What's really taken my fancy recently?
Oh, go on,
You go
Emma,
first.
what-
Remember,
if you know
yeah.
yours.
I'm trying to remember his name, but there's this guy that has been recording stuff where it's like super relatable stuff. And he like zooms in on his face. There's the one where he's like, somebody asks him to go out and do something with him, and he's like, "No, I'm busy." Blah, blah, blah. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
No, very, very popular reel. This is obviously.
It's got loads. It's got millions of views on it. I'm trying to find his name, but I genuinely cannot remember it. I'm just scrolling through my Instagram right now, but it really hit. All of his content really made me laugh. I was actually scrolling through bed I was awake until about 1:30 last night, watching all of his videos, and they were amazing.
See, the one I've just sent it to my friend. It's Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, and it basically says how music can change a scene, and it's when they're like undressing about the fight, but it's actually this music. And it's Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee undressing, ready to fight, and Bruce Lee's bending over the warm up and stuff, and it looks very, very inappropriate. So that's the one that had me chuckling that I had to share it with people.
Yeah, I remember when The Witcher came out and there was a fight scene with Henry, and they were just putting like crazy songs to it. And yeah. So if you just heard a beat noise, that was the TikTok coming through.
Yeah, that was me sending them a copy so they can have a look at it later on. So Tabby, you can't really remember any at all.
I think, do you know what? It's nothing really nerdy, but it's really wholesome. I keep seeing these this neighbor who talks through to a little girl through the fence, and she always like tells him everything that happened. And yeah, and the guy who lives there is just so sweet about it. And there was this one where she runs out. She's like, "Oh, I've lost my tooth," and he's like, "You're going to give it to the tooth fairy?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "How much you going to get for it?" And she was like, $2. And then he goes back in his house and he like comes back and he's got like a $20 and he's like, "I'll buy it now." And she's like, "No." And he's like, "It's more." And then she takes it and then doesn't give him the two. Yeah, it's just wholesome moments between this
I
little
like this
girl.
child.
Yeah.
There's one which I love watching,
Yeah,
even though I'm
so
terrified of dogs. It's the
Yeah.
one where they're doing like the grooming of the dog, and it's like they're in a spa and they like clean the ears and put the
Oh,
cream
I
on the
love
paws,
that
and it's like
one.
ASMR of them putting the stuff on the dog and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, they're nice ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Even though I'm
satisfying.
terrified of dogs, I'll sit and watch that.
There's also that one with the kid, just speaking about kind of kid memes, of the girl that kind of comes in and she's wearing like the sunglasses and she's dancing. It's like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea because I'm champagne. Have you seen that
Yes,
one?
that
That's
one
a
I
good
have
one.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the name of, I found the name of the guy that I was talking about.
I know.
think
Well,
it's
you can say it, yeah.
Amandev. Anyway,
Aman Dev, maybe?
yeah, Amandev.
There's a little shout out for him.
Yeah. His content's great. It will make you feel much better about your life.
Now, that's the perfect segue. It's like I've done this on purpose because that leads us to the topic of today, which is about content creation and mainly more about the collaboration side. Now, use both create a lot of content professionally and personally as well on both sides. So what I kind of wanted to ask you to start with, I just do this for a bit of fun compared to you guys, which is literally your living to make this stuff. How do you actually decide on what content to create? Do you kind of just go, "Oh, that's a good idea," and go make it? What kind of starts you off in doing that? Now, Emma, I'll jump to you first because you do it in a streaming side, but you also do it as a job as well. How do you decide on what sort of content you need to create?
On a personal side, I tend to try and mix it between stuff that I think will perform well and stuff that I just really want to do. I would say it's like a 70-30 split of 70% would be content that I think will perform well or be right for my community, right for my followers. And then 30% of the time, it'll just be stuff that I just really feel like doing. So I kind of split my time that way. For work, it's usually to solve there's a very specific purpose behind each thing, whether it's to try and educate people that are coming to the shows, or whether it's to, I don't know, like just tell people the value of the show, that sort of thing. So there's usually a very specific purpose behind each and every post. A lot of the time as well, when I'm just doing like fun content for work, it'll be just because I want to make people smile. And as a whole kind of company, that's what our goal is, which want to make people happy. So that's kind of what drives most of my content on both work and personal.
Or just make my life hell as well.
That too. Yeah, that's my main driving force, but I just couldn't say that. So
yeah, well, I won't talk about the Christmas box incident. Don't get us wrong, that was really fun content to do, but I did it at the worst possible time.
Was that before or after you fell down the stairs?
That was after. That's when I was recovering. Very quick reference. I fell down the stairs after a Comic-Con in October. You can read between the lines on which one, and ended up getting an infection, ended up in hospital, like really seriously bad, like deadly bad. But I managed to recover, and they said, "Look, take it easy." So I ended up being off work for a month. It got so bad. And about 2 days after I came back off on the sick, it was a Comic-Con in start of December. Was it end of November? Like start of December. And basically I'd really badly damaged my knee. And then what we did is we decided, what can we do to make content is have me underneath a box running around the con, bending my knees non-stop. This is how we did it to recover. And I was
was this your idea? Because this sounds like a CJ problem.
I can neither confirm or deny if it was my idea or not. To be fair, this was an idea I had before I'd injured myself. Not realizing I'd also be the one underneath this box. But that was actually it's hilarious because a lot of people that watch the content actually believed it was David Hayter, Solid Snake from Metal Gear, was actually underneath the box.
I did say at the time, though, I was like, CJ, you wear the same jeans and the same shoes to every day of your life, and someone out there is going to recognize it, and they did.
Yeah,
some people did. Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear. I wear the same style of trainers and jeans. I don't wear the exact same ones. Okay, I have a particular
you keep
style.
telling yourself that.
Yeah. We don't believe you.
Right. Imagine if I didn't wear what I wear now. There would be uproar.
Especially
went-
with the waistcoats.
Yeah, I went to an event and I didn't wear a waistcoat for 15 minutes, and I had about 4 people make a comment on me.
It was a bit of a shock the first time I saw you in a t-shirt, I won't lie.
Yeah.
Because
it does
I met you through cons, so I didn't ever see you not in a waistcoat. So I was
the
like,
thing is-
are you the real CJ?
Yeah, Tabby met me wearing a waistcoat as well at a con.
Not the first time. First time I saw you was in cosplay.
But yeah, the first time you met me, I was Green Arrow, but you didn't know it was me.
Nope.
No, me and Tabby have this weird history where we kept running into each other and doing like videos and stuff and not realizing who each other was. For example, I was on Tabitha's phone before I even knew who Tabitha was.
That was such a funny story.
It is. We're not going to bore people with that story. If you ever want to know that story, please ask us. It's really funny. But Tabby, we'll move on to you, seeing how do you decide on the sort of content that you create? Because you mix it with kind of streaming now, you do cosplay, you do modeling photos. Like, how do you decide what sort of content is going to be the one that you want to post?
I have to agree with Emma. So there's always, because you're mixing business with your personal social media, there has to be a fine line of both. You want to create content that you know that's going to do well to help push the business side of things. So you want to pick, so for instance, if I'm making a cosplay, I will try to pick a character that, you know, is maybe talked about. The new Wolverine and Deadpool movies out, so maybe I'll do a Deadpool cosplay. But at the same time, you also want to be authentic to yourself, because I genuinely feel like audiences know if you're not being who you are. So you've got to also do characters that you enjoy, right? So if the Green Arrow, you got me talking about the Green Arrow now. If say the Green Lantern came out at the same time, like I didn't enjoy that as much. So I would pick something that I enjoy, and people will see me genuinely smiling about, and it will also make you, you know, work harder. So yeah, but yeah, you have to pick something that's current, but also you've got to stay true to yourself, because you know, people on the internet, they're smart, but they know when you are when you're not being real. So yeah, I try to mix both. I try to do stuff that I know will go down well and that is current and everyone's talking about, but also, you know, I've got to enjoy it too. Otherwise, why am I doing this, you know?
Yeah, completely.
Which kind of leads on to the next bit, is because obviously trends, sounds, like the dance, like at the minute it's the Brat song at the minute with that like dance at 2 times speed or whatever, where you do the kind of birds
The Charlie
fluttering with your
XCX
hand.
one.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's a kind of popular trend right now, but using that sound, kind of doing that dance, is it sometimes worth sacrificing doing some original content to do a trend that kind of get your likes and views up? Where's that line for you of doing what you want to do, but also kind of doing what is popular? Because a lot of what you do, it's about getting bums on seats, looking at your social media, looking at your content. Is it tough finding that line between doing what everyone else is doing and what you actually want to do? Because usually what you want to do doesn't get the people to notice you. Once they're there, then they love that original content, but the original content isn't usually the one that draws people in. How do you find that line between the two?
Do you want to answer this one, Emma?
I don't mind. I mean, I
it.
tend to, if for my personal content, so the stuff that I do outside of work, if I can see that the trend would be relevant to gaming, because obviously a lot of my content is very gaming heavy, if I can see a way to make that trend relevant to my audience, then I'll do it. If I can't see a way to do that, where I'm kind of merging a trend with what's right for my content, I won't do it. I think the same thing for stuff for cons. It's like, if I can see a way to make it relevant to like cosplay or to, again, like gaming, any of those sort of different areas or different fandoms that exist at the shows, then again, I will try and work it into the content plan. If I can't see a way to make that trend relevant, then I will just leave it and let it let the trend kind of pass by.
So you're not going to be doing any sort of TikTok dances or anything like that anytime soon?
Oh, I tried convincing other people on the team to do a TikTok dance for work,
And
but
they're just like,
it didn't go.
no.
They were like, no, it's too far, Emma, you're asking too much.
At the minute, I am learning a dance. I'm not going to say what dance. I'm not
Ooh.
going to say what for. If you can probably work out what for, because this is me. When do I usually do my stupid stuff? But I am currently learning a dance for something very, very soon.
Oh, I'm excited.
I mean, you go on, Tabby.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say, just to add to that, as someone who cosplays, some costumes can take so long to get into. For instance, my Moxie cosplay from Borderlands is a total 4 hours to get into. So once I'm in it, I want to make the most of it and create as much content as I can. So I'll try to create everything that I want to do. But also, if there is a trend, it doesn't hurt to, throw it out there and see if people like it or not. I'll be honest though, I often find that they don't like it because that's not my target audience. They watch for me and for my cosplay making or for my modeling. So when they see like the dances, I definitely think it's a younger audience, and I just don't have a young audience currently. So yeah, who knows? But also that's how you grow, right? So you're reaching out to different people. So I don't think it hurts to try and use something that is going viral, but also make sure you still do your original content, because you don't want to lose the fans that you already have as well.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? It's kind of bringing in that new audience without sacrificing what you are about. And for me, like, I'm not bothered about social. I've never tried to get any sort of social media following. Never been that thing for me. And plus, because of my other work, I can't. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I really want to make this, and I can't. And I see other people making it, and you're like, oh, that'd be so much fun to do. But for me, I just think once you kind of have an audience, it's sometimes hard to get out of that audience if you kind of want to go a different direction. Like streamers, I know, struggle with
the
known for
games.
being like Minecraft, and if any of those try to do anything outside of Minecraft,
Just
they
practice.
lose so much of their audience. And I know for you, Emma, you kind of stream in numerous different games, but you find you always kind of go back to the content you've always got to do.
I would say a mix. Sometimes, obviously, if I have I think we'll talk about this a bit more later, but where I have kind of sponsorships or brand deals, that obviously that can impact my decisions on what games I play. I always kind of default to one game that I've always played, and then the rest kind of just change depending on what's popular. What games are new as well is a big part of it. And yeah, I feel like that answers the question, but I did it in a very short way. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Which, you've mentioned it. So I do want to jump onto the kind of the main point is obviously the collaboration side. We've talked on previous podcasts, me and Eddie, about the content creation, but I just kind of want to get your input on the content creation side. But I think one of the areas which a lot of people struggle with is about collaborating and working with companies, getting creator passes at events, kind of getting sponsorship deals where companies work with you, whether it's sponsorship or it's working as an affiliate. And I know some people don't like using affiliates because then they get a little bit of percentage and they feel as if they're taking money off people. It's a very kind of tough area to get your head around and work with. But the first question I kind of want to ask is, obviously both of you have worked with companies as been sponsoring you and working with them that side, but also for you, Emma, as well, from your work, you actually are the person that sometimes works with content
This
creators.
is going to be
well.
really interesting, to hear both sides.
It's like I've planned the people I've brought
I know,
on,
right? It's amazing.
Because you, Tabby, have worked with many companies over the year. Well, you've worked with some massive companies. Like, just to kind of give people a kind of reference, what companies have you actually worked with over the years? I think just to give people a understand of why I've brought you on, not just because you're a friend, it's because you actually have some good knowledge in this area.
Absolutely. I've worked with Amazon, I've worked with Warner Brothers, I've worked with Marvel, I've worked with Fortnite, I've worked with Blizzard, I've worked with Netflix, I've worked with Oh gosh, I can't.
I'll
The
stop
list
you
on
now.
Nintendo.
I'll stop
Yeah,
you now
yeah.
before you.
I can go on. Yeah.
You can go on, which and that's not to be being big-headed. I've asked her to actually say that because you've worked with lots of different companies, lots of massive brands. You're still working with them now. What I kind of want to ask is for the people that are kind of first wanting to reach out to these brands or company, and I know sometimes companies reach out to you, but starting out, that wouldn't have been the case. What kind of advice would you give to people wanting to try and start reaching out and talking to these companies? And then I'll go and eat with you next, Emma.
So I'm showing my age a bit. So you're right, this wasn't always the case. So now, content creators have become a job, and people will try and take advantage of this. And I think one of my pet peeves is constantly, every day, at least twice or 3 times in that day, I will receive an email going, hey, do you want to do this? Blah, blah, blah. Now, one of the biggest red flags, and you'll know, as soon as they don't mention your name, as soon as they go, hey, and it's like at Arty Fakes, or even not that, if it's hi there, I love your content, if they do not put your name in the first line, just delete the email, because it's just going to waste your time. So that is the biggest red flag that I could say that you need to watch out for. And a pet peeve of mine, if you're going to email someone, at least do your research, because I'm guessing like Emma, if she was working with influencers, you want to know, you want people that will do your brand well. So don't just contact everyone. Like, you want to do your research and make sure that, they're the right influencer or content creator for you. That is my pet peeve. If you see an email, don't get excited. Make sure that they know who you are.
Do you want to lead on that, Emma?
I agree. It's always kind of, as soon as you get an email that lands in your inbox and it's like, I've got an awesome opportunity for you. You're like, great, cool. I've seen about 1,000 of these copy and paste messages. Please, can you stop?
Yeah.
Even I get them and I'm like, what am I going to offer? You've just saw my email, saw the websites and places and events I've worked for, not even bothered to look at my social media, realizing it's just me, my dog, and my mum who follow me. But you're offering me this big sponsorship deal.
Sus.
I haven't worked with as many brands as Tabby, so I'm still earlier in my journey with the kind of content creation side. And when I do reach out to brands, I reach out to them with a very specific kind of goal or a specific. So I worked with Udi. I don't know how people actually physically say that word. I always said it was Udi, but apparently it's Udi. So I don't know. But anyway,
I think it's not because it's like a hoodie, because it's like without the H.
Yeah, Udi. I always thought it was Udi.
Udi.
I've always called it Udi, even though I know it's hoodie without the H.
Maybe it's
also,
a northern
I'm jealous and I want one.
No, I'm going to be weird and I'm going to call it Oddie just to annoy people.
Oddie. Perfect. But yeah, so I stream on a Saturday morning and it's like this really cozy vibe, like Saturday, it's called Saturday Morning Coffee. And it's just where everyone gets together. We wake up on a Saturday morning and we'll just drink our coffee together. It's very cute, very, very cute vibes. And I reached out to Udi and said, I think this would be a really perfect fit. Like if I was kind of wearing your items, your hoodies on stream, it would be a really good fit. And they decided to work with me. So it wasn't like I was reaching out to them just being like, hey, can I have free clothes? It was like, hey, this is a really good fit for your brand and your brand is a really good fit for me. And there's like mutual benefit here. And then they did decide to take that forward. So I think just having a very specific goal in mind, and this is the same thing from my work side, having a very specific reason why you're reaching out to a brand can really, really help, because especially when you're a smaller creator, it's not always the easiest to see the return on investment. And I think, so for example, we had for the con I work for, somebody reached out and said, hey, I want to come to your show and I want to do a tier list with 100 different fans. And like, how do I make that happen? So that was a really specific thing that they were coming to us with, to say, I have this really specific piece of content that I want to create. I think it'd be really cool. I think I'm the right fit to do this for your brand. And I think your brand's the right fit for me. And it was nice to see that they'd come to me with a really fleshed out idea. And I was happy to work with them. So I think that makes a massive difference, especially when you are a smaller creator. The other thing from the other side of it is that I don't see many people giving back data. Marketing relies so heavily on data. And I think sending back to that company that you're trying to work with, or agreeing even from the outset, just saying, hey, what's going to make me different is I will give you the data that helps demonstrate the return on investment to your manager, your bosses. And if I had that more, if I got that more now, I would probably work with those same creators more often, because I would be able to go back to my boss and say, hey, this creator did this, it performed really well, here's the data to support that, rather than just saying it did well, but I can't tell you how. So I think more creators could benefit by sending back data to the person that they've worked with.
That's really interesting. So when I work with companies, they actually state in their contract that they need, like, part of the agreement is after I've done a job, I have to send them like
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I haven't seen that come through on my side, but maybe I'm too small yet. They're like, we'll just kind of assume that it did well on that side. But obviously when it's a big deal, like I say, it's
yeah, but taking the initiative on, like, as a creator, the more you can make their life easier. Any companies that you like, make their life fun. They'll work with you again for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it kind of stands you out from the crowd a bit.
Yeah, we used to do, we still teach people how to break into the prop making industry, and, how do I get a job making props for movies and TV? And I always tell them, I'm like, sometimes it's not, and usually most of the time, 99% of the time, it's not about talent, right? It's old school stuff. You have to turn up on time. You have to have a smile on your face. Even if they're asking you to wipe the floor and make tea, if you make the best cup of tea with the biggest smile on your face and you're enthusiastic and you're there on time, they will want to work with people that they know will, just do it. And sometimes, the talent can come later. Just work hard, basically.
I think you've brought up some good points in the fact that is being very clear on what you are going to do and how, like, when I email companies quite a lot, usually not for myself, and companies reach out to me saying, hey, do you have some recommendations? One of the things I'm always doing is saying, this is what we want to do. This is how we can help you. Not, I want you to give me this, me this, me this. It's about you.
Yeah.
This is what I can do for you. In a creator,
much more mutual.
I see the amount of social media posts saying, oh, I didn't get a pass to this event. I didn't get a pass to this event.
Yeah.
Follows mean absolutely, yes, you've got to have a following. If, like, for big events, you do need a following. But if you can prove you have a more engaged audience, the amount of followers you have, that is more valuable than having 1 million followers without any engagement. Like, there's websites I see which have, say, 500,000 followers, but they'll only get 2 likes on like that. So they've got millions of followers, but only 2 of those million are actually interacting. Where someone might only have, say, 5,000 followers, but they're getting 3,000-4,000 likes.
Yeah.
That is more valuable to a company, a brand, than a person with 1 million followers that isn't getting that interaction. So
definitely.
Followers is very helpful, but if you've just got followers that don't care about your content, like one of the worst things people used to do years and years ago, but it's been stopped by social media, is people used to do giveaways. Follow me and like to win this prize. And then they'll keep that like, and then they'll never interact with your content again. But if you can naturally grow audience that are interested in your cosplays, in your streams, it takes time, but you will have a stronger audience that brands will want because they're engaged with you. And if they see you using these products, promoting these products, they are more likely to listen to you than some random person that they've just followed at some point in the past. So being very clear on content is very, very important. Saying, this is my audience. And I love what you said about the metrics of it. If you can show the metrics, I think, what's it called that lots of people do now? It's not a board. They usually pin it on the Twitter.
Like an infographic?
The infographics, that's it. Yeah. Media kits, that's it.
Media kit, yeah.
Have a media kit. I've seen some brilliant ones, like one of the people I follow and chat to every so often is called Bob Duck and Weave. I think he works for Corsair now. I remember when he was just streaming and he was making these sort of boards for people and stuff like that, media kits, and saying, look, this is really important. He's now working for one of the bigger games companies because of what he's been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to have a media kit.
Yeah, I've got one as well. It makes a big difference.
I don't have a personal one. I have one for like the sites and stuff like I work for and things like that. And they are so important for getting like the site I've worked for. I've got access to Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount. They're sending review copies of TVs, movies, like the things I've got access to just because I'm saying, this is the site, this is what it does, this is what I do. They've given me that access. And then afterwards, I've said, by the way, I've had this interaction, I've done this. And chatting to them like people, I find also helps. Don't say, hi, copy and paste, and just replace the name. We can read emails and know when someone's copy and pasted something and changed a few words just to make it look good. Be personal about it. Show your personality, show what you can do, and that will get you noticed more.
I think with physical products as well, and with cons actually, demographics. If you can say, right, look, more of my followers live in the UK or something, if it's a UK con, obviously that would be more valuable to the brand as well, because your audience will see stuff from like in the country that they can actually physically go to that event, if that makes sense. So I think that makes a big difference. And then with products, say if you have a massive amount of, if you are a UK based creator, but you're trying to work with a brand in Australia and you're trying to promote their brand, but that's not going to work either. So having a media kit is really helpful for companies or brands that are trying to find creators that are really right for their audience as well. So I think that's a big benefit for media kit as well.
Yeah, to add on to that as well, I think it comes down to, being authentic again to yourself. If someone comes along and offers you, I don't know, a deal that's got nothing to do, like for instance, my audience is like 80% males. If I get a contact from, can you do female, toiletry products or whatever, like that's going to be absolutely useless to my fans. Like, it has to be beneficial for both the brand and for the content creator, because otherwise it's just not going to work.
And I think sometimes a lot of people, when they're first starting out, and it sounds horrible, but don't go for the big brands starting out. The likes of the well-known names aren't going to work with you to begin with, because you don't have the experience of working with brands. It sounds weird, but go for some of the smaller brands, some of the brands that are just starting out, that are looking for people to help work with their brand. And they're looking for someone to help build them. You're looking for someone to help build you. And then you've kind of got that mutual kind of, we want both of us to succeed. And when you've had that experience in, hey, when you go for the bigger brands, well, I work with these, and these. That looks better than you saying, well, I haven't worked with anyone, but I want to work with you because you're the big name. The big names can pick whoever they want. The smaller brands usually get forgotten about, work with them, and that builds up your experience. And people can go, oh, they've worked with 4 brands already. These brands are doing really well now. Maybe they're doing something that they can help us.
For sure. And you never know as well, the amount of brands that I've worked with, and people change jobs quite often in this industry. So soon they'll switch to another company. And if they like working with you, they'll reach out again from this other company. And it's a small industry in the UK specifically.
It's horrible, but sometimes it's who you know that helps. I've had lots of companies reach out to me just because they know me, saying, hey, can you recommend someone for this like job or this? Well, Emma's probably nodding her head right now because she reaches out to me. But I've had
sometimes I'm like, I've got this specific problem. I haven't got a creator in mind, and I'll kind of reach out to people I know, like CJ, and just say, do you know any creators that would want to work with me on this? So yeah, it does happen.
I'm never the creator people want to work with, but they know I know so many. Well, because I go to cons and I'm like doing interviews, and like when, in my off time, I'm not trying to go in the green room to go talk to all the celebrities. I like going out on the floor and chatting to everybody and going all the different stalls. And because I'm usually with like a staff badge or something like that, whatever badge they give me at the con, I'm in a shirt and a waistcoat. The stalls like to talk to me thinking I'm someone important because I'm dressed smart. But and then I realized, no, I'm a nobody, but they still chat to me. I build those relationships. And then all of a sudden I'm chatting to them saying, oh, like, can you recommend? And I always try to recommend people I think are a good fit. So a lot of it comes down to it's horrible, but this is the way the world works. It also comes down to reputation and who you know as well. Because chances are, a lot of the times, if I go, oh, well, actually, none of my friends can do this, but my friend's friend could, I go to my friend and say, hey, can you reach out to your friend and see if they're interested in this and do it that way? And I've done that so many times for different companies. Your reputation and how you go about yourself is so important, not just I'm trying to make myself look big. Support your friends, help them become popular as well and work with these brands, because chances are there might be something down the line which you're a better fit for and they'll help you kind of build up on it.
Yeah. Speaking more specifically from the con scene as well, kind of as a more of a kind of working with creators as a brand, I think we also do pay a lot of attention to who's tagging us, who's engaging with us, who's commenting on posts, who's creating valuable content for their audience. We don't always necessarily get a time to properly engage with that or properly engage with that creator, just because there's a lot. You know, it's 100,000 followers or over that now, and it's kind of, I don't always have time to interact with every single one of those people, but I do see it, and the brand sees it, and we do talk about it, and there is often an opportunity for that to come up. So even if you don't always feel like the brand isn't paying attention to you, there is somebody out there that can see you if you're engaged. Always watching. And it's true, we are.
I'm going to tag comms constantly now.
It does make a massive difference, but I think also the value of the content can make a massive difference as well, especially if you're somebody that's like applying as a creator to a con. Just thinking about the value of that content you're creating of the show can make a massive difference, even if you are a small creator, because at the end of the day, they're huge community events, and if you're creating content that's valuable for that community, the brand will notice it. So that's my other big piece of advice from the kind of con scene.
And just because they're not liking it doesn't mean they're not noticing it. The certain event
definitely.
I've worked with wasn't even following me on social media until a few months ago.
And someone clearly has not forgiven them.
No.
Definitely not. I'll never hear the end of it.
No, you won't.
Also, sorry, I'm going to add on that again because this is a good conversation. So I, even as a big creator, never like turn your nose down at smaller creators as well. So we a few months back, we went to the Star Wars celebration, and I actually teamed up with just a smaller creator. He wanted to make a TikTok, and it ended up going viral. And you just never know what algorithm's going to hit. So please don't be snobby and be like, oh no, I'm too good for them, I'm not going to work with them. You know, just give everyone a chance. And like I said, lift each other up. There's enough space for everyone to create content.
Work with the people, not the follow count.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really inspiring story as well, actually, to be fair.
Yeah. No one would ever work with me. Looking at my follow count, no one would ever work with me. But somehow I've been very lucky, touch wood. I've got to work with so many amazing cosplayers and photographers and videographers and people and companies. And I'm an absolute no one, but I could literally contact any sort of company and point people in the right direction, but not as a personal creator, because God, I should have millions of followers now because I'm so amazingly popular and amazing with my content and stuff. But it's the people. Work with the people. Find the nice people. Work with them. Do content. If it doesn't get any likes, it doesn't get any likes. But you've just built this a really good, strong relationship with this person that down the line could help you in the future, or you could help them in the future. It's not all about yourself. It's about supporting people in the community. Like I wouldn't say. Go on, Tabby.
Yeah, serious. But I think it all still comes down to you being authentic, because you don't just pick your friends and you pick people for the right job. Companies like where Emma works can trust your opinion, and they will always go back to you because you're being true. Yeah. I just think you have to
I'll fake
be.
it.
That's very true.
Yeah, you have to be true to yourself.
He's joking. He doesn't actually fake it. Don't listen to him, listeners.
Yeah.
I'm
He
a
does
horrible
think it's
person.
true. He just can't take compliments.
I really can't take compliments.
Well,
I hate
take it
compliments.
because you're a good person and you don't.
Okay, let's move on. So the next thing, so I'm aware of the time as well. I do want to bring up, because we're talking about brands and we have been talking about working with other people, but what is it also like, and can be a dangerous area, I think, sometimes as well, is working with your friends and people you know as well. So not brands, but with just other people. Sometimes it can be quite tough working with friends as well. I don't know
And
if there's
family. I'm just going to add that I've worked with my dad since I was 12. And yes, it can be very tough.
I'm sure he will say this. Well, he has said the same to me, just behind your back.
Wow.
But no, sometimes it is tough because working with friends, I can speak from personal experience that I did like channels with somebody and then we had a difference of opinion and then we stopped making that content, which has
That's happened to me
devastated
as
about.
well.
And
Yeah.
it's tough. Sometimes you work with friends and then just something doesn't go right. You have a difference of opinion. And I'm not just talking about unknown people. I'm talking about, I know of people higher up with massive YouTube channels that worked in partnership and things like that. And just because of the direction you were wanting to go in, if you didn't agree, it just totally broke it down. And sometimes it can affect friendships. It's any advice on how to kind of deal with those sort of things, or is it worth just not working with friends when you can? Because unfortunately, I see it most of the time. People lose friendships over things like this. It's tough.
It's definitely tough. And, it has happened. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is you have to be so clear up front before anything starts. You have to have it written down while everything is hunky-dory so that it's not really working with friends, right? It's people, it's working with people. So you have to know how that person is going to behave when something goes wrong, because you need to know how to deal with it. So whoever you're working with, you need to sit down, get some kind of written word wrote up that, states that if this scenario happens, this is how we're going to handle it. And as long as you've got it written down and as long as it's up front from the beginning, you always have something to fall back on. Whether they have something to fall back on, you have something to fall back on. You have to be super clear. So I honestly think there's nothing wrong with working. I actually know friends that do still work together and still have great relationships, but you have to separate work from your friends, and there has to be some kind of,
like being clear with your boundaries, kind
but
of.
Yeah, boundaries in place. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was what I would have said as well, to be fair. So yeah,
I mean, it's fair to say me and Tabby originally weren't friends. I don't mean that in a horrible way. I mean, we worked together.
Wow.
Wow.
When I
I'm just
finish
gonna
this
go,
sentence-
guys. Thanks.
Okay, bye. See you. No. It's fair to say that we started as a more professional thing because I reached
got me into hosting.
Yeah.
For-
So
for
basically,
Comic-Con.
if people don't know how me and Tabby kind of got to know each other, is originally I asked her on as a guest for a panel through one of my other friends about their work they were doing for cosplay and modeling for comic book covers. And then I overheard from socials and things like that, she's wanting to get into hosting. And there just so happened to be a gap at MCM on the live stage, well, the new live stage, where we're trying to save it because it might not have stuck around. It's kind of like, well, she's got a bit of a following. She wants to get into hosting. I think she works really well. She was lovely. Why don't we see if she wants to come on and have a shot at doing hosting at MCM? And then she did. And then she stuck around and then we became friends. And then she got too big headed and I had to get rid of her. So, no.
Wow.
But then we've become friends because of that. And now we do streaming. We do like Dungeons and Dragons. Chaotic Quest does, nice plug. Check it out.
We stream together.
But there's times where I'll throw out ideas and I'm like, you're like, nope, that's a terrible idea. And then everyone in the group chat's like, shut up, CJ, you're terrible. Like, please stop messaging us, take the hint. And it's being able to take kind of sometimes your friends saying, no, actually, that's not a good, like, you could be so invested in an idea. And then everyone goes, actually, no, we don't like that. It's being able to go, you can't always do the things that you want to do. It has to be a group. Like, I'm sure Tabby will agree here. There's been plenty of times I've threw out ideas and you all just went, nope, not
But you
happening.
also want to keep your friendship right, so you have to check in, and then I will always, message you privately, be like, "Are you all right? How, like, sorry that idea didn't work. Can we improve that idea together?" Or,
Well, what was the one you sent to me the other night? I don't know who wants to say this. Is basically Tabitha went to America and did a D&D panel and did a character that was basically an absolute copy of mine. And on stream, I kept winding her up saying, "Oh, you stole my character." And she actually messaged us saying, "You're not actually angry with me."
I
And
was
I'm
so
like,
worried.
no.
I was so honest. I was like when your heart like beats, and I was like, I've really upset him. And I feel everything. I'm such an empath, and I was just like, oh my god, I've hurt him. I don't want to ruin our friendship over this. I'll never, role play as Catty Couscous again.
Yep, nope.
Catty Couscous.
My character's called Catacus, but just to bully.
I have to call him Catty Couscous.
Anyone bullies me. If anyone watches our streams or just anything I do, people just naturally bully. Like, even on stage, the audience that have never met me naturally bully me. I must just have one of those faces. But communicate. The bit I was trying to get at is communication is key. Working with friends, like I've got to work with Emma now for a while with like throwing out ideas and things like that. And communication is a huge part of anything, especially like new people you're working with or people you've worked with for years.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
I think also that it's nice to work with other people, even if it's just to bounce ideas off other people and they have nothing to do with the actual content, because otherwise you can end up quite siloed in your own head about ideas that you might have, or you might become overwhelmed. And sometimes speaking to the people to be like, okay, but does that idea realistically work? How are you going to do it? Like playing devil's advocate can also be really useful. So
yeah, especially if they're like from a different background, have different experiences, different gender. Like, you always seem to like, I always know I grow as a person when I travel to different countries and see different cultures, for sure. It makes you more whole as a person, 100%.
Definitely, yeah. So I would say that there's a lot of benefit to working with people. It's just like making sure you navigate it well.
Yes.
And I'd like, it's a bit of personal advice. We'll do like a few kind of final bits of advice for people because we're just coming up towards the end. Is one of mine would be, if you've got friends that have been doing this for a while and you've been sent sort of like a sponsorship deal or an affiliate deal or some sort of wanting to work with a company, and you've got a friend that has worked with companies before, get them to have a look over the deal just in case there's anything where they're trying to take advantage. I'm sure most companies, 95% of the time, are not trying to take advantage. That's just the way they do things. But it can still put you in an awkward situation of how do you reject it if you go, hey, by the way, I don't think this is the best fit for me, but then you want to still have that positive relationship with them because something else might come in the future. Speak to friends, speak to other cosplayers, even if you've just kind of spoken briefly, just say, hey, could you give me some advice on something? Like if someone reached out to me that I've only spoke to once or twice at con and said, hey, could you give me some advice on something? Majority of the time, if as long as I'm not busy, like overworked, I'd be like, sure, hit me with it. Like the amount of times I've had of people saying, hey, how'd you get into hosting? I could be like, well, I don't want to help you in case you take my hosting position. Pretty much every person that's done that, I've tried to say, well, I'm not the expert, but this is what I've done. This is how I do it and things like that. And supporting other people. And now they are taking all the hosting jobs. So now I get to do nothing.
No, but for sure. I had Kim Patsu reach out to me. She's like, look, but it goes back to, again, have like a reason behind who you're contacting. So she saw that I worked with Fortnite and she's got a job with Fortnite. And she's like, well, how much do I charge for something like this? So yeah, no, definitely. I think if someone is just reaching out and being like, oh, I want this, you can sort of tell if they're being authentic with it. So don't just help anyone that just reaches out to you. But yeah, if a friend or someone, is a bit more specific and showing that they want to, not take advantage, but they're like putting their effort in as well, like giving back their analytics or whatever, you can just tell if someone's being genuine, and definitely help those people, because don't be a dick.
So true.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is this whole podcast could have just come down to just don't be a dick.
Be a dick.
So
Be
Thanks for-
specific, don't be a dick.
Yeah, thanks for listening for the past hour, guys. It just turns out that's all it came down to. Emma, do you have any sort of final kind of tips? Because, like I say, you see it from both sides. So, do you have any sort of like final words of wisdom?
I would say try not to worry too much about it. If it's fun, then that's the great thing about it. And if you are working with brands, I think a lot of new creators fall into the trap of agreeing to the brand owning that content for longer than they probably should. So always watch out when you're signing a contract to see how long who owns that content and how long for.
Awesome. Well, we are coming up to the hour, and sometimes I feel so preachy when we do podcasts like this because most of the people that are listening are probably cosplayers and people that go to Comic Cons, and some of you have probably already worked with brands. But if you've took anything away from this, I'll be over the moon. Or if you've just listened to us ramble for an hour, thank you so much. Just to kind of finish off, Emma, if anyone wants to kind of follow you or see what you're doing streaming wise or watch your content or see whatever collaborations you're doing in the future, where can we find you?
I would say the best place is to speak to me on Twitch because I'm terrible at DMs. So entering my chat and harassing me on there is the easiest way to get hold of me. So it'd be like twitch.tv/Emma Lilico, which is Lilico, because it's a really awkward surname. I'm sorry.
Go. Does that work? I'm gonna make that as new content now. I'm gonna change that song to your surname.
Great. I love it. I love it. I can't wait.
I am not actually going to do that. Don't hold me for that. And Tabby, where can people find you if they're so crazy inclined to?
So I stream Dungeons and Dragons every Wednesday and Friday at twitch.tv/chaotic questers.
I totally recommend watching that channel, by the way. I am not biased at all. Watch it. It's great.
And you can also find me on all socials at Artifakes. But also, just a little plug as I'm here, I'm hoping to push YouTube this year. There's no content on there at the moment, but I'm leaning more into costume making this year. And if you don't follow us on YouTube, get over to youtube.com/Artifakes.
Yeah, and Tabitha will be using all of the advice and tips that we've given on the past two podcasts I've been on content creation. Otherwise, she'd be totally lost, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Good. I'm like giving her the death stare, like agree with me right now. Not that you guys can do that. But no, thank yous both so much for coming on, because I know you two can look at it from lots of different areas, from having worked with companies and brands and stuff over the years to starting out on the gaming side for Emma, but also working for a company with creators and things. If anyone has any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on CJ the Geek on pretty much anything, and I am more than happy to help you guys out. Just say you heard it on Eddie's podcast, and I'll probably block you, to be honest. Be like, why are you listening to this? But good news is Eddie will be back very, very soon. I may be doing a second podcast for him. I can't remember. So if I'm back, I do apologize. And if I'm not back, I'm sure I'll be back on as a guest. Make sure you check out Eddie on everything as well, on food and cosplay. And I do believe he also has podcast extras, which you can check out. All of the links will be on the food and cosplay socials, and check that out. But no, thank you very much for watching. We are literally coming up to the hour mark. So that's where I'm going to shut up, say goodbye. Thank you for watching. Or not. Thank you for not watching. Thank you for listening. This is the streamer side of me coming out now, but thank you for listening. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me today. And we hope to see you all soon at maybe a Comic-Con in the future. Bye, guys.